I'm Elizabeth at A Literary Princess. If you are new here, welcome. I am a 6-year PhD candidate in English literature with a focus on Victorian women novelists. And as you might expect, I love to read. Today I have the Nonfiction Journey Tag for you. November is Nonfiction November, hosted by a book olive. And last year, Hannah from Hannah's Books created this tag to do. And honestly, I thought I'd done it. And apparently I didn't, because I can't find it. So that must mean I didn't do it. I figured now would be a good time. So there are 9 questions. Let's jump in. Question number 1 is, what was your first experience reading nonfiction? I actually started reading nonfiction pretty early in elementary school, and the first book that I really remember reading was Anastasia's Album, and that is by Hugh Brewster, and the subtitle is The Last Tsar's Youngest Daughter Tells Her Own Story. So this is a book about Anastasia Romanov, the youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II, who was killed in the Russian Revolution. And this book had just all these pictures of her and of her stuff and paintings, and it was just beautiful. And I was already kind of obsessed with Anastasia from the film, the animated film. So this just like sparked a real love for all things Romanov for a while there. I wish I had a copy of this. I remember I got it out of my elementary school library, and the librarian had actually shown it to us in class. I don't know why. It must have been because the movie had come out. I don't know, but I was absolutely obsessed. I remember getting this book out multiple times, like over and over again, which makes it really bizarre that I don't have my own copy, but here we are. The other nonfiction that I remember reading pretty early on is the zoo books. So these are just short, like almost magazine type books about different animals. So the ones I was really into were the ones on wolves and the ones on bats, because those were my 2 favorite animals as a child. So I read those quite a bit as well. And then I kind of fell off of reading nonfiction as I got older and didn't come back to it until I was in college. But yeah, that was my first experience. Anastasia's Album and zoo books. Which, you know, it could be way worse. Question number 2 is, has the reading of a work of nonfiction ever brought you to tears? Yes. And I mean, more than once, like there's more than one book, but the most notable one for me is Margaret Fuller, A New American Life by Megan Marshall. I was writing a paper on Margaret Fuller, and so I read this biography. This was in undergrad. 3rd year of undergrad? Final year of undergrad? I don't even remember anymore. I think it was my final year of undergrad. Because I was like, ooh, 19th century woman writer. I was not very happy to be taking an American literature course, but I had to. So I was like, fine, I'll write about a woman. That makes it better. And this is heartbreaking. This story is heartbreaking. Margaret Fuller was an incredibly intelligent woman. I mean, just, she moved in the transcendentalist circle with Henry David Thoreau and Ralph Waldo Emerson, and all of them, the Alcotts. And the end of her life is just so sad. Oh my God, her husband and her child died in a shipwreck on their way home to America. And I think it was Emerson that said after her death, "In her, I've lost my audience." And I'm like, I sobbed at the end of this book, which, because before this, I knew nothing about Margaret Fuller. Let's be clear. Nothing. But this book, I was like, oh my God, I am very invested in this woman and her life, and I just sobbed. Megan Marshall's a great writer. I have her book, The Peabody Sisters, that I still need to read. Maybe next year, we'll see. Question number 3, are there any people who played a significant role in your nonfiction journey? Other than the librarian that showed me Anastasia's album, not really. I don't know. Most of my literary influences were, you know, suggesting novels and giving me novels to read. No, I can't think of anyone, honestly. No, coming up blank. No one. Question number 4, do you enjoy documentaries? Do you have a favorite? Is there a subject you'd like to see discussed on film? So I feel like I like documentaries perfectly fine, but I don't watch very many of them. I know I watched The Last Czars. The Last Czar? Is that what it's called? The Last Czars. Produced by Jane Root on Netflix. It's about the Romanovs and Tsar Nicholas II and the Russian Revolution. That interest held on a little bit, obviously. My husband and I watched this together. It's a docudrama, so you've got the historians talking about it, but then there's also the scenes acted out, which is kind of a fun way to do it. I also have watched a lot of true crime documentaries with my husband. The Disappearance of Madeleine McCann, I know we watched. The Staircase. The Family Next Door, or American Family, something like that. Hold on. American Murder, The Family Next Door. Why do I doubt myself? I feel like I look these things up and I'm usually correct about them. Not always, but. And then there was another one that I forget what it was, but it was wild. Husband killing his wife and son. And there was money issues, there was drug issues, it was everything. I forget what it's called though. But, so yeah, I enjoy those. I wouldn't say that I love them. It's not my favorite genre. I don't even think I really have a favorite documentary that I could think of. There is one that I want to watch that my cousin just recommended to me, and that is from the American Masters series, Louise May Alcott, the woman behind Little Women, directed by Nancy Porter. Again, shouldn't be doubting myself. And that came out in 2008. I saw my cousin for a funeral and she recommended it. So I would like to see that. I do like Louise May Alcott and have read a biography of her and have been to her house. So it would be very interesting for me to watch. I don't know if I could get my husband to watch it with me though. As for things that I would like to see get made, honestly, I don't know. Again, I like documentaries, but I don't really watch them that often. So I don't know. I'd rather just read a book. I feel like I retain the information better by reading it. So yeah, I'd rather just read a book. Question number 5, have you read a biography or a memoir of a person who you identify with? And yes, I definitely have. I identify pretty strongly with the Bronte sisters, and particularly with Emily. I don't know if that's because I love her book best, or she also seemed to like dogs more than people. This is A Life of Emily Bronte by Edward Chidham. And what I found really, I found myself really identifying with Emily Bronte as I was reading this, because Chidham speculates that she might have had an eating disorder, just based on the way she would react when being sent off to school or going to teach school. She would get very depressed. She would stop eating to the point of having to be sent home. So he speculates that that might have been something she struggled with, which is very relatable for me as somebody who has an eating disorder. So I did. Also, just the imaginary worlds that the Brontes created and were always playing in, that resonates with me because that's the type of thing I did as a kid. Except I didn't have a bunch of siblings to do it with because my siblings are much older than me. So it was just me. And writing stories as a child. I wrote tons of stories as a child. So I do resonate a lot with the Brontes, especially Emily. Question number 6, read aloud a short passage you love from a work of nonfiction. So I'm gonna read a passage from Fun Home, which is super shiny. This is by Alison Bechdel. It is a graphic memoir, and I read it for my memoir class, actually. And the passage I love is right at the end. So here's her artwork if you want to see it. I love Alison Bechdel. I did a paper on her about Fun Home and her other graphic memoir, Are You My Mother? This is right at the very end of the book. What if Icarus hadn't hurtled into the sea? What if he'd inherited his father's inventive bent? What might he have wrought? He did hurtle into the sea, of course. But in the tricky reverse narration that impels our entwined stories, he was there to catch me when I leapt. So this book is about Bechdel's relationship with her father, and her musing on it after his death, which she's not really sure if it was an accident or if he intended to die. So in that metaphor, her father is Icarus. I don't know, it's just such a beautiful passage to me. This is a beautiful book. Highly, highly recommend this. I feel like everybody knows about this, but maybe not, I don't know. It's just so good. And Bechdel's a great artist, she's also a great writer. I mean, that passage is beautiful. What if Icarus hadn't? Oh. Speaking of other nonfiction that made me cry. Yeah, hi. Yeah, I love that quote. Absolutely love that quote. Question number 7. Do any works of nonfiction intimidate you? Which ones and why? Oh boy, yes. Theory. Any kind of theory. I hate theory so much. But this, oh my God, this is The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir. Classic text in feminist theory. I read it for my qualifying exams for my feminist theory because we have to have a theory. If we didn't have to have a theory, I would not be doing a theory because I hate theory. Oh my God, I hate theory. Look at this. It's so long. It's translated from French. It's so dense. I'm like, man, what are you talking about? I read the whole thing. I read this whole effing thing. I'm still intimidated by it. I will never reread this. I don't even know why I still have it. Probably because it is like a foundational text. And I know there's some stuff that would be useful for me in here, but also... More theory. Gender Trouble by Judith Butler. I hated this book. I don't understand. Like, she's speaking English. I recognize the words, or she's writing English, but they are not being comprehended by me just because of the way she puts them together. She writes so densely. This is such a short book. It shouldn't be intimidating, but God, when I realized I had to reread this, I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to. Theory sucks. I know some people that love literary theory. They're weird. They're really weird. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Give me a novel. Give me a novel, please. No theory. And then some other nonfiction that I tend to find more intimidating is, like classics that are nonfiction. So such as Vindication of the Rights of Women by Mary Wollstonecraft. I find nonfiction, I think generally speaking, nonfiction is harder to read than fiction. Just because it's not it can be a story, but it's just kind of automatically denser. Not always. Memoirs are usually on the lighter side, but I feel like nonfiction is already a genre that for me is like more intimidating than a novel. And so then add that this is now written in the 18th century or the 19th century, or God forbid the 17th century or earlier, and I'm like, oh. I mean, this was hard. Read the whole thing too for my feminist theory course, but this was hard. And other works of classic nonfiction that I've read have been very hard. Areopagitica by John Milton. Hate that book. Again, sir, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh yeah, literary theory and classic nonfiction. Not my faves. Question number 8, what tips would you give to people who are hesitant to read nonfiction? So first of all, don't if you're really that hesitant, don't jump in with like a 1,000-page book, 1,000-page biography of Sylvia Plath or something, which you'll see in a moment. But yeah, don't do that. Go for something shorter. Find, obviously, a topic that you're interested in, like really interested in and want to learn more about. There's so many different types of nonfiction. I feel like there is something for everybody. Like, if you're not into biographies, okay, don't read biographies, but there are also, I don't know, books about, there's travel books, there's memoirs, which are very different from biographies. They're much more conversational usually. There's like, I don't know, books about architecture and music and basically any topic you can think of, there is a nonfiction book for it. So do some research, look into it, find something you're really passionate about. And the other thing is try graphic nonfiction. So I am obsessed with graphic nonfiction. I took a class. So this is another graphic memoir, The Best We Could Do by T. Bui. So there are a lot of graphic memoirs now, I feel like, and they are just so engaging. Like, to be able to look at the artwork while also reading the words. It's just a different experience, and I think it can be easier to get into a work of nonfiction when you have such a strong visual component. It's not just memoirs that are in graphic form anymore. I've got this, Charlotte Bronte Before Jane Eyre by Glynis Fox, with an introduction by Alison Bechdel. So this is a biography of Charlotte Bronte up until the publication of Jane Eyre. I think this one is meant for children, or at least somewhat younger readers, but I found it great as an adult. Like, as an adult that already knew a lot about the Brontes, I still found it great. So there's other stuff other than graphic memoirs too. You can find biographies. You can probably find more. I don't know. I mainly read memoirs and biographies, and unfortunately literary theory. So, but yeah, give graphic nonfiction a try, because I think it's really, really rewarding and a nice way to start reading nonfiction. Question number 9, what are your favorite works of nonfiction? I actually have a whole video on this that I did last year or the year before, I don't remember. But I've talked about a few of them already. Margaret Fuller, A New American Life is definitely on that list, and so is Fun Home. But I also have 3 ginormous biographies to tell you about, 2 of which I read this year. And so this first one is Sister Novelists, the trailblazing Porter sisters who paved the way for Austen and the Brontes. This is about Jane and Anna Maria Porter, who were novelists in the Regency era. And this is amazing. This is an amazing book. It's by Devani Lucer. So, amazing book. I adored this. I read this in February for Feb Regency, and it was like immediately top of my list. I thought it was going to stay top of the list, but there's been so many amazing books this year. But the fact that there are 2 works of nonfiction very close to the top of my list this year is crazy. But yes, absolute one of my favorites. And for the other one that was from this year, and I think you'll all see this coming, this is Red Comet, The Short Life and Blazing Art of Sylvia Plath by Heather Clark. This is my top read of the year at the moment. I don't think that's changing within the next 2 months, but or month and a half, really. But you never know. Ugh, this is so good. This is the 1,000-page Sylvia Plath biography I was talking about. I adored this. Clark is a great writer. She brought everything to life so well. Absolute favorite work of nonfiction is another giant biography. And this is The Brontes by Juliet Barker. This is a biography of the entire Bronte family, from their father Patrick to their father Patrick, because he outlived all of them. But so Patrick, their mother Mariah, their two technically older sisters who died when they were children, their brother Branwell, and then of course the three girls who we all know and love, Charlotte, Emily, and Anne. This is like the biography of the Brontes. Like, if you want to really know about them, you go here. And yeah, it's massive. Humongous. But I adored it. So this is my top work of nonfiction. Honestly, Red Comet is probably my second at this point. So obviously whatever video I have on about it is a little out of date since I did it last year or the year before. But yes, I absolutely adore all three of these books. Oh my god, they're so good. So the 10th question is to tag other booktubers. I am not going to do that since this came out last year and I don't know who has done it, honestly. But I do want to say thank you to Hannah for making this tag. Also, thank you to Olive for hosting Nonfiction November. This is going to be her last year doing it. I would love to know your answers to some of these questions down in the comments below. And also, have you read any of the books I talked about? What did you think? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of my bookish content. It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.